Hey guys, welcome to the final match of Nate, MSL Group A, and Com, already knocked out, which is not what I was expecting. Now we're going to see a rematch between Forgg and Light, and should be pretty exciting. Let me make sure I get the colors this time. We have Light in blue, which looks like he's starting in the bottom right-hand corner. We have Forgg in the upper left-hand corner as the white Terran, so very nice kind of split. And this is going to be on a new map, OddEye, and I'm kind of curious how this will play TVT as well. It kind of reminds me of Athena, but it doesn't have the center open, really. You got kind of an island map across, and it's also two-player, so it's two-player Athena. I have no other better way to describe it. So, but you have your natural secondary with a very narrow choke. There's an expansion at the 12 o'clock across two bridges. There's an island expansion. Well, there's a expansion across bridges, or sorry, up ramps at the 9 o'clock, kind of interior 9 o'clock. The problem with that expansion, though, is they're very wide ramps, so you need some pretty good siege tank coverage to work with that. And then otherwise, kind of other expansions, bottom left-hand corner, upper right-hand corner. Upper right-hand corner is across two bridges, bottom left-hand corner, it's two ramps. So it kind of reminds me, I don't know, it's almost like Fantasy 2, what portion of the map was that again? Like trying to build it back in my brain. I'm like, nostalgia? Is it like that? No. Anyway, between these two, though, let's see if Light can pull it out. He's got to have some confidence bolstered after beating Com with a really crazy strategy. I did not expect that to work, especially because I didn't feel like he did the amount of economic damage he needed to do off of 3-port frickin' Wraith. But transitioning directly, it's really, I feel like, Com's fault for not turning around and really capitalizing on that. So I'm just, I don't know, putting expansions everywhere or something like that. I guess he didn't have a lot of expansions on the ground he had to work with because it was island expansions or nothing, and if you put down additional expansions in the bottom left-hand corner, that would have just been kind of a troop movement nightmare. You never want a base that exposed when you're... I guess that's the problem for Zerg on that map, now that I think about it, is his mobility is just absolutely ridiculous. We're seeing kind of a proxy barracks out here from Forgg, or I'm sorry, from Light, which, again, playing a little bit more creative, so maybe, yeah, his brain's just kind of snapped in. It looks like he is going to go for a standard factory build, but it's possible we're going to see something to mix it up just to get that barracks in for early scouting, maybe provide a little bit of top coverage. It looks like Forgg is thinking about doing a 2-factory push of his own. He has got all 3 SCV mining gas. Could also be kind of a maneuver to just scout a little bit sooner, which again kind of suggests that we're going to see Light play a little bit more aggressive here. So it's still no factory out from him, but so that SCV is going to be able to scout that bottom left. He could have a Marine go to that top right, and then he can have another Marine go bottom left, I suppose, or something like that. I'm not sure how the scouting timing will work out for that. And it looks actually, never mind, we're just seeing that single SCV pulled off for Light. So it's possible we'll still see some sort of FE versus, or fake double from Light, so a little bit of early pressure, but at the very least Forgg should be able to press it back against it fairly easily, because it looks like he's planning on planting 2 factories down. Single Marine being lifted off, and unfortunately for Light in this situation, he's going to have a very difficult time dealing with that SCV scout, because that Marine at that forward, that's kind of the sacrifice of putting that barracks out in the field. If that SCV scout does sneak through, then you're going to have to deal with that SCV scout for a very long time at your base, and now he's having to jog all the way back to the main, hoof it. He's got to, you can just read his mind there. He's like, oh, God, gotta move. And there's that first, okay, never mind, actually. It looks like we've seen some more gas, the SCV taken off gas for Forgg, so he's planning that command center instead. But Forgg going to end up a little bit behind Light because he's playing a little bit safer, planning it up on that top ridge versus Light placing on the interior. And we are going to see a Vulture kind of sneak out that direction, which could provide a little bit of delay, a little bit of harassment as well, and should provide a little bit of spacing for Light here. Anyway, it looks like that single SCV going to be taken out by the never mind. Okay, the Marine is going to take it out. For a second there, I thought the Vulture was actually going to be taking out that SCV finally, which would be so frustrating for that Marine. It's like I came all the way back just so you could turn around and do that. There's the purpose of the 3 gas. He didn't pull 3 off. He actually put down an expansion in between, and he's going to go for a very quick, probably Vulture drop with that starport, which could be effective because there's a lot of drop room across the northern portion of Light's base, and also if you put down or if you can come across that 6 o'clock and plant them behind the mineral line, there can also be effective. But I think Light's going to be well prepared for it, because as you can see, just barreling that barracks in, which is probably a smart maneuver against a player like Forgg, who tends to play a little bit more kind of cheesy, a little bit more off cuff. So it's going to get spotted out. Light seeing it's gonna. I don't think he's gonna be able to get that barracks out in time. But immediately placing an armory, he's gonna be in a nice position to deal with this. Already has his second factory being placed, so I think that was worth the information, even if he does end up losing that barracks. And we are. I think Forgg is actually going to be kind of dedicated, just continuing with this vulture drop and still trying to catch him out of position here. 2 tanks on the front door. It looks like that command center just now being floated out, and going to be a little bit behind on troop count overall in just a second here, though. Still, those Marines working. Actually, SCV coming to the north might be able to save that barracks if it gets there. Get there, barracks. Get there. SCV running high. This is, man, I gotta say, Light's got kind of the marathon team here, running back and forth. A single mind of try to protect, but it looks like nice anticipation skills on Forgg's part, realizing that a lone SCV might be wandering out there to provide some defense, getting that siege tank underneath. To provide the additional padding. Let's see, that SCV still going to run up there, provide a little bit of repair time, but not able to do it otherwise. 2 Marines getting taken out against those vultures in the meantime. And those vultures might be able to sneak by. Never mind, another siege tank coming up to support. Thought that siege tank might actually be on the high ground in preparation for siege tech, but looks like the mine's planted. Oh, okay, never mind. Able to take it out nicely. 3 siege tanks should be able to push out through it, but looks like Light is actually playing pretty vulture heavy here in the mid game, which I'm not sure that I don't know what that decision's based on, especially seeing the amount of tanks that are out in the field. He's going to be in a little bit of a hard position to deal with it. Maybe he just wants the superior mobility, maybe a little bit of the scouting. There's that Wraith finally able to take out that barracks north, which is actually a pretty sizable win here for Forgg early. The one thing is, if there were dropships coming out in the field with those mines covering, you'll be able to spot it. But at the same time, vultures I almost feel like not very worthwhile on this map, especially just because just kind of the way it's positioned. You can't really get in, harass the natural secondary, that third base, because of the bridges and kind of the nearest natural expansion, unless Forgg kind of plays a little bit crazy and goes for the 9 o'clock instead of the 12 o'clock. I feel like vultures are very easily taken care of just by a couple tanks planted at that bridge at that location as well. So we'll see how it works out. Looks like a Goliath tank vulture force moving out now for Light, putting down that second command center. The Wraith, Cloaked Wraith, going to be able to run up and maybe take out, actually 2 Cloaked Wraiths, going to be able to take out on SCV. Might be able to get a couple more on top of it. I'm not sure how long they're going to be in there, but they're going to be able to get some economic damage done. 2 Goliaths moving back to provide that comsat, and it looks like if there was a comsat right there, one of them would have easily gotten taken out. But going to the bonus now, they're going to be able to get a lot of SCVs and actually pull out before a single comsat was placed, and there was plenty of comsat to work with, and running back to the main. Let's see actually if Light can continue this up, keep running them back and forth. It looks like instead Forgg was just kind of working on the timer and relying on one of the Wraith to essentially run out of energy. But right now Forgg in a pretty good position. Does manage to get one of the Wraith taken out. Forgg in a pretty good position. He's got a sizable amount of tanks. He's able to get his factories because he took that barracks out a little bit sooner. So even though there was that early scouting that happened, he's still going to end up in a superior production production position. It looks like that 3 o'clock base also going to be halted. Never mind, doesn't have the cloaking to finish off the job. So Forgg going to be maybe a little bit economically behind because he's not really in a position to take his third base just yet, but he does have the scouting going on. Keep in mind comsat providing the scouting on the opposite end. That's kind of the advantage when you have multiple Wraith out in the field, is if they have to kind of keep that comsat around for that base defense. You can kind of keep your opponents in the dark as a result. But several siege tanks moving out to take that 12 o'clock spot, kind of move some position there. And right now Forgg in a really good spot. He's got the 4 bases. He's also got that dropship, so he can kind of play the air game. And I was kind of thinking he was going to actually stick and